everybody enjoys the flavor of it on the end product, but doesn't always enjoy the process. And, you know, you've gotta have a stomach for it, to be able to know, what to do and how to make it so that it comes out to the final stage. Terry's gonna be giving some report. We have been very active and have a number of things to go on, so I'll let him go ahead and start on his report.
Thank you, Mark. Excuse me, I've got a little frog in my throat this evening. Project QTC, formerly known as Project Tim, they've had some disgruntlement with their engineer, and now in the process of changing engineers, and may have already done that. They have done some work out there and some grading and all that, but again, they were not happy with the engineer that they had chosen, and are in the process of finding a new one. As you're all aware, I'm sure, if you've traveled on 36 at all in town and glance to the south, you'll see Randy Curno's building going up. It's structurally up, enclosed, still has a lot of work on the exterior to do yet, and they're working on the interior now. I'm not sure a lot of people realize the financial impact that this will have, but this is an $8 to $10 million project, and pretty substantial. I also think that if you look at it, I don't think there's any doubt about it, it's actually changed the appearance of how US 36 looks going through that area, and that was a good thing. It needed that, so that was good. We have a project that looked here, chose not to come here because of things that they couldn't overcome. But we called it Project Go Boom. And Tony would know who they are. It's Mike Sesnick's Fireworks. I guess it'll be called Kelly's Fireworks. It's after his daughter, right? And this will be a 365-year operation. Although it's not coming inside the city limits of Cameron, and it's going into Caldwell County, out by where, what is the name of that? R&W container is. They've already done the grading, they've done the footings, they'll be going up with the building. He expects to be up and going by July 4, and, or the fourth season, I should say. And this will be, it will have an impact on Cameron, however, because it does bring people for his product. They'll be obviously coming through Cameron and coming back to Cameron to spend money. There's nowhere out there to spend money except Mike's place. And so Cameron will do that. I want to say that the reason that he couldn't come to the city is they have state regulations on how far that building has to be from other buildings, and he just was not able to find a piece of property that either he could afford or that would fit because of that distance qualification factor. You know, you have two medical marijuana facilities in town now, one in the old Egan's, well, both in the old Egan's buildings, one in the big building. That will be a grow facility. That will help the city in electricity sales. My guess, from what I know about those facilities, that probably will replace your loss from the prison. So that will be a good deal. The other one is a dispensary, which is going across the street from the co-op in the, what we really refer to as the old Egan's building. And they'll be building a new building there for their dispensary operation. And that too will be beneficial to the city as far as sales tax goes. August 15th?
I mean, they're supposed to be operational by then for their certificate.
Welcome signs. We've been working for what, Joe, 3 years now for welcome signs for the industrial park, I guess, looking at different things. Zach Workman came and visited with us, several of us, we went out, looked at the property. It's Zach's suggestion that we put up two-faced signs, one on the Caldwell side, one on the Clinton side. They wouldn't be located right across from each other, they'd be more angled out.
That was for
Yeah.
estimate.
They probably, if these were chosen, and I'm not saying they are, because there hasn't been any decision by any means, but if this was to be chosen, they would resemble very much the two welcome signs that we have in town presently. One US 36 and I-35, and the other one on US 36 west of town, out by NW. The reason being for that is that we heard, and we thought, and we heard that maybe continuity was a good thing to have, so we went with that. And they will be long-lasting signs. But we don't have cost at this point. I will tell you the signage is a very, very, very important part of that park development. And so that'll be coming along. The other exciting part about the park is that they'll be doing the utilities this summer at some point. And once that is done, that park then really does become marketable and ready to go. So we're excited about that.
Terry, if I can interrupt just a minute, that idea came from Councilman Estes, and appreciate that, and I think Michael worked with Zach, and you did too, and so it was a team effort, and it's a great idea. Thank you.
Hotel Motel Tax is on 3 bills in the legislature. The last one is probably the one that's going to be the deal. It has several other cities with it. That's okay for us, as long as we don't get tied into some crazy Christmas tree bill like we did last year. But everything looks pretty good. The people I know involved in the tourism business informed me that they don't have a problem with our bill at all, and that's good, because they have the power to stop stuff. So the only thing we have left on that really is time, and time is not our friend in the legislature today. There's only about 2 weeks left to go, but things move at a fast rate. On a personal note, I might add, not as fast as they did under Bob Griffin, but they do move at a fast rate. And Bob was the champ of speed on the last 2 days of session. We thought it was Rothman, but we timed him actually, blew him away. So if they get to it, I think we're in good shape there on that. We had a project we called Project Bill that we brought up last time to everybody at EDOC, and that was to get the roads done. And we were informed by Drew this last week that middle of April, the feds changed that program. And so that probably makes us not eligible for what we wanted to do. That was to build roads with basically federal money. It's now designed more for urban construction, and probably we wouldn't hit all the boxes that you have to check to make that. Saying that, I'm confident that we're gonna be able to find more money out there. There's always a program somewhere in the federal government. If the infrastructure bill goes through, and some form of it, I'm convinced some form of it will go through, there's gonna be a lot of money that's gonna be accessible for things that we need, and the key is for us to be ready and be prepared and go with that. What else did you want?
We are planning on doing a foundations meeting, get that set up. We've talked about it for a year. We're past the COVID. We can actually, get together like we are now and do the foundation that we're wanting, where we'll have some individuals come in and talk to all of us about how to set up some foundations, how they work, the benefits of buildings. We are, working with MoCan and, trying to see what's available, either the structural, aspect of getting, more information structurally. And then also Trevor is looking into the rehab, whether there's a grant, to redo what is existing there, or whether it would be a tear down and then go another way. But Trevor, works for MoCan, and that's his thing. He loves industrial, or historical, buildings. Even when he came, before he started with MoCan, he's had a history of that. And so work with them and, put a little push on it, so that we can, try and get something done sooner rather than later, because I know time is of the essence.
I think in addition to that, there's, there's a couple other issues. One actually goes in the other. We've had several other leads, obviously prospects that have come from either KCADC, or the state of Missouri. We have not qualified for those leads, no fault of Cameron's, but we haven't qualified because of the specifics that the project required, whether in a couple instances it was massive employment that we couldn't fulfill, such as service companies, and they're shooting for 500 figures, and the Class A office buildings, and we don't have any. And that's not to be thought differently of. Most communities don't have Class A office buildings. It's your big cities that have those. And then that I really don't want to bring up, because there is a player in this, and Mark and I have been working diligently the last 2-3 weeks with a project here in town, 2 different projects here in town, and they could not come to an agreement with the owners of the property, and but I think there is a possibility of something going there, and but I'm gonna defer that to whenever that time comes, that announcement's to be made. So there's been other things, but nothing at this point that's come about. I will say also that there is a lot of interest right now in economic development from the state, but they've been really kind of not strange projects, but they've been very site-specific projects. Some of them have just been massive. One of them was $265 million is the plant investment, and we didn't put in for that because there's no way we could compete in that project. You're gonna be competing against communities that will be putting hundreds of thousands, if not millions, just in incentives into that project, so. But those are the type of projects that we're coming in lately. They've all been big, so.
Then one other thing, we have set in on, 2 projects, the Weston Estates, which is the housing, out off of West Street. There's some issues, with being able to get that, to where the city can accept it. And so they're working with the engineer and doing that. And then also on Green Ridge, that subdivision out there, as you go out to, McDonald's, across from Valley Brook, it has set for a number of years, and some of us have taken it on to try and, work with Farrell Realty, who owns that. If you don't know, there's been 2 different builders that went bankrupt, and, a bank owned it, but sold the paper on that, and so Farrell Realty, which is Farrell Gas, ended up with that paper. Didn't know what Green Ridge was or anything else, but they just ended up with it. So there's been some issues there that have happened. And I think we're about to turn the corner to where we can get some things done and, finish getting that built out, so that we get some more housing, in the community. So those are two other items that we've worked on. But if you have any questions on any of them, I'll be glad to answer.
I have a question
Sure.
about going back to the, timing for the welcome signs versus the utilities versus a pad site. In your guys' mind, what would be the 1, 2, 3 hierarchy there? Do you have a priority that you would prefer to focus on first, or?
Well, Councilman, you, in the industrial park business, it's a chicken egg situation. The first one obviously would be utilities, I don't think there's any doubt about that. The pad is always valuable. Signage is always valuable, and here's why. The pad, because you can take a prospect in and say, here you go, I'll make it up, here's a 50,000 square foot pad, you're ready to go on this, you can start. Companies like to see that. We don't have a spec building, the number one important factor. So the pad is very, very important. Saying all that, signage is extremely important because it gives ownership of the community to that property. When you drive up with a prospect, they know you're real, you've got a sign there, you're ready to go. The other part of it is, most people don't realize, is a lot of companies today hire site selectors. They quite often make unannounced trips. They know where the park will be. But if they go out and there it just sits, they have to second guess themselves where it really is and all that. So for things like that, signage is very, very important. There's no doubt number one is utilities. But I really hesitate to say you put them in 1, 2, 3 order, other than the utilities, but, those are things that just need to be done and done quickly.
So they all three need to be done,
They all
but
three need to
utilities
be.
would be the number one.
Utilities are definitely number one, there's no doubt about that.
Okay.
And with the signage, since it's unusual, but it's camera, you've got, Clinton County on one side of ED and you've got Caldwell County on the other, so that's the reason for the 2 signs. Just so that you know, on the Caldwell County side, we have an opportunity zone there. And there are some benefits of anyone that builds, in those sites would have over the Clinton County. So that's another reason to sort of put those monuments, in 2 different places so that people will know, this is here and that's there, so that they can know what to do, because the benefits of the opportunity zone can help a lot with the company on capital gains if 20 years from now they decide to, sell that location, then they can defer on some taxes. So.
The other thing, Councilman, if you were to watch industrial parks, and I have, but if you were to watch industrial parks develop and come up, sometimes even before the utilities are in, the first thing you'll see will be a sign that they put up to identify that property. Whether people drive by and see it, whether they pull it up on the net, no matter what they do, that sign is of great value to selling that property, identifying it.
And going, again, with the signs, I've heard a lot of different numbers thrown out about what's needed for, I know they're expensive, I know there's different ways. In the past, I don't know if we've gotten deals on signs, cause somebody helped, I really don't know, but do you guys have a ballpark figure in order to get signs that are similar to what is, if we want it to look like the city ones, what's your, perfect world cost for a price of these signs?
Donation would be the perfect.
Well, that's-
Yeah.
But, otherwise, we've priced signs, not those signs, but we've priced other signs and they're running in the $20,000 figure per sign apiece. That doesn't mean, I mean, there's other things you can do to change that, some of them could be lower. We don't know what this may cost, these are a little different, they're actually made of concrete, and, there's a lot of stuff I think we can maybe do, so I kind of anticipate the price coming down, but remembering, from the people who tell us, the experts in that type of stuff, it's a two-sign, it really is a two-sign deal that you need to do. So, you know, I'd like to tell you a number,
But about 20, I mean,
well,
we had to pay for
I'm thinking maybe the type that we're looking at doing may be below the 20 per. I'm thinking more
Right.
in the 10 to 15 per, but you need both.
Part of it depends on, how good an arm twister I am and seeing if I can get some people to help. Cause, you know, the cost of the concrete, you know, there's something, 20 cubic yards, but it's the labor involved, it's, you know, setting the base, things like that. And then lettering is atrociously expensive. You know, that's what blows my mind, you know, it's $150 to $200 a letter, you know, so.
I got in the wrong business.
Yeah. So,
Thanks.
Thank you.
anything else? Any other questions?
The prison, I know they were talking about making part of the old prison training, is there any update on that? They're gonna train guards on the other side?
You know, I'd have to, I don't know where it is. I'm not sure it's in the budget, but I don't know that. That was the governor's.
Yeah, and talking with Randy Rails back, there was 2 or 3 options, but none of them are materializing.
Okay.
And I think Randy was here Saturday. And, did some viewing, you know, other community and getting some more ideas, because he's one of our best, ambassadors for the community. And, so we work with him a lot. I know I've probably either by call or text a couple times a week with him on some things. And, he's very good to keep in contact with.
Is there an update on the internet tax? I know that was part of what's been going through Just City.
Yeah, you know, it's went through the House, and like everything else, it's bottlenecked up in the Senate. The Senate has, passed the budget, you know, so they've got 2 weeks to get all this other stuff done. Our hotel tax has been over there for a month and sit, and like Terry said, it's, you know, we've got 3 to 4 different avenues. And as Terry said, ours is not one that they're looking down on. Now, there is the city of Ashland that they are trying to do something totally what that's not for. And, so it may get, you know, they may have a problem, but, you know, we've got support. I know we've got some support in the Senate, even by some of the conservative, senators, so. You know, we just gotta get it to the floor for a vote.
So if they pass that in the Missouri Assembly, then do we have to ask our, residents to pass that?
You know, goes to the Senate, then it goes to the governor signs it.
I think that's one of the sticking points, if there's a House and a Senate bill, and I believe the House bill wanted everybody who already passed one to have to repass it, which is one of the sticking points that they're haggling about.
That's on the internet tax.
On the internet, yeah, not
House
on,
bill.
not
I think
on
that was
hotel
No,
tax.
I'm talking about the internet tax,
Oh,
because that's
okay.
what he was talking about.
Okay,
No.
So
sorry.
it depends on how they, Shelley's exactly right, it depends on
Okay.
how they come out on that, that's still up in the air.
Okay.
And, you know, there's another bill in also that we got tagged with last year that's a great detriment to us, and that is that every time you pass or do what's called Community Improvement District Tax, TIF, there's another one, that the entire community, has to vote on that and has to vote for renewals. And, I would tell you that that's a death knell to development, so.
Just to clarify, that marijuana it's the grow facility and then the store, right? And it's the same company?
Yes.
Okay.
Dispensary will be across from co-op,
Right.
and the grow facility will be across from the food.
Do we have a timetable on either one of those, or both of those?
The dispensary is supposed to be up, by August the 15th, according to their certificate, so that they keep their certificate, that the state issued intact. So, that's the reason why I know they've been in front of you guys, you know, on the vacating of the alleyway and that type of thing. So, that's the reason why they were, time was of the essence, you know, to get stuff done.
Company's owned out of, Florida.
All right, anything else? Mark, that moved us to miscellaneous also, correct, or? was
Yeah,
that-
and, you know, if you guys have got something that you want us to work on, you know, we're more than glad to work on it, we just need to know, but.
I might be interested in seeing if we have, I think we've got like 20 empty lots now of the houses we tore down.
Mhm.
That's,
They're up for bid right now, I believe that comes up on the 13th, there's 5 lots that,
okay,
we have 5 lots that are out for bid right now, and that ends on the 13th, so.
that's their first time that they're
No,
open to
this will be
bid.
the second time.
Well, I was trying to think of a way, I don't know if other communities have done it, to incentivize, so we don't have to own it and mow it for the next
Gotcha.
15 years,
Yeah.
so, till somebody doesn't have to buy a $20 2x4 stud.
Yeah.
We also have some commercial lots that are.
Okay. And that's kind of what I'm interested in, you know, what do we have in town, commercial buildings that are empty? You've got the Egan's one that's done, and residential areas, that's not gonna be, you know, the ideal way was we tore the building down, we get the money back. That was our cost to tear it down, we build a new roof, new house, new taxes, but if that's not moving, then it's our problem.
Yeah, you know, we could talk, you know, as far as if there's a way to take any barriers down, that the city might have, you know, which makes it difficult for developers to, you know, do some of these projects.
I can answer one thing about that. On the empty lots, the dilapidated to new, what happens is the ordinance says that it has to be sold to someone who will build a new single-family home there. So if you're trying to sell it some other way, we would have to change that ordinance. We also have it as supposed to be self-funding, so that the amount of money that you sell the lot for has made up for the demolition. It hasn't kept up that way so far, so we end up putting in more money than we're getting out of it. So we'd like to make that work, and we need to move forward on aggressively, but those are the two kind of barriers we're trying to overcome.
And you know, if you incentivize it and still keep that single-family home requirement somehow. I mean, I'm sure there's millions of towns across the country that.
Not too many, we kinda got the innovation board for that, but incentivize it, you know, you could do some things, we could play around with it, like maybe you abate property tax on the new house for a period of time that can be passed on to the owner, or, I don't know, maybe there's some things that you could do like that.
You know, and if you're just talking a few of them, as you're doing them, that's not a big deal, but if you get up to, you're getting a bunch that you're sitting on.
If you know where the Valley Brook subdivision is, you know, they're off of Bob Griffin and Grant. Mac Porter, was big, I know Denny knows this, as far as, putting some money up, so that it would help, some of the people that first bought those homes, in their closing costs. And it sort of self-perpetuated and went on, and with, the builders, they saw it as a good deal. And, you know, it worked, you know, for that subdivision, and if you notice, that subdivision's built out. You know, it's something to consider, and, you know, we can look,
Right.
Councilman, one other thing that you could do, that other communities have done, pretty familiar with this, is, several communities have donated those lots to Habitat for Humanity. And, they in turn build that up. On my way home, where I live, I actually go by two Habitat houses that were built off the side in the city. And, they're very nice. But that they have done that, they've used it for those infill lots, is what you're referring to.
Right.
They've done several there, and I know other communities have done, St. Joe and others have done that.
There's at least one person that has expressed an interest in buying a lot, but they're just a neighbor, they just want a bigger yard, so right now, by ordinance, we can't sell that to them. I don't know if that's something we wanna reconsider or not.
Well, you know, we want a roof there. You know, if something that's not gonna cost the city a ton more versus sitting on it for 15 years, I mean, it could be just a timing thing. How long have you guys done this now? How long, when did that
I
start?
think it aggressively maybe the last 3 or 4 years. We've had the program in place for much longer than that, but we've really pushed it the last several years.
Right. You know, and it could be something little as deferring utilities for so long, you know, just to keep up. But, and with the market and COVID, I mean, you're not really gonna know the reality of what's gonna happen with housing anyway, but.
well, I'll get you some information about the Habitat for Humanity, just so that you know how it works. And maybe we can bring that when we do, you guys are gonna do your June planning session, and then we're gonna do right after that. And, you know, maybe that's one item we can discuss at the planning session.
Thank you.
Anything else? I don't see anything else on the agenda where we'll move towards adjourning unless, okay.
All right, appreciate it very much.
Thank you all for attending.